Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast, joined now by my very dear friend from Men's Journal. He is a terrific writer there, where you can find him prolifically at mensjournal.com. Matt, where can they also find you on Twitter?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter, X, whatever you call it these days, at Matt Haladik 919, at MATTHLADIK 919. And I'm always on there. I will warn you, it has been a lot of Yankee related stuff with them in the playoffs. Now they're done in the playoffs, so it'll probably be less baseball. You're going to get a lot more NFL, college football, little NBA and college basketball too. But I'm always down to talk some ball with people.
Matt, before we get into the Raiders, because we're going to spend a lot of time on the Raiders tonight, or today, I guess. It's tonight when we're taping it, but today. I want to ask you just point blank about. I'm trying to think of how I want to word this. Uh, do you have your Jackson Dart pajamas?
No, I do not. I am just wearing a plain white long sleeve shirt and some sweatpants right now filming. No Jackson Dart pajamas. I do have the game. I've been watching the game. Listen, I don't think the Giants are very good, but I am intrigued by what he's shown. And I think that, there's something potentially there, down the road. So we'll see.
Matt, the Raiders have the 30th ranked scoring offense, 16.6 points a game. They are almost 2 points worse than last year. They go out and get the mega free agent the mega quarterback. They trade for him. Get the the sixth overall pick, the best running back talent since Saquon Barkley. They're arguably improved because they've got more players that they wanted, yet they're worse than last year. They have a offensive coordinator, the highest paid in the NFL, making $6 million, making head coach money. Question for you. Very simple question. What's the problem?
Well, I do think the O-line was an issue early on, especially as, we talked about it being one of the reasons why Ashton Genty struggled. But I gotta be honest, to me, one of the biggest issues is just Geno Smith has not been, I know it's cliche to blame the quarterback and it's not all his fault, but Geno Smith has not been what I thought he would be and what you thought he would be. And I think that, you know, I'm really surprised a little bit. I think that he's moved the ball and he's done some things. The issue is the turnovers have killed him. And that's been something, I said last week, he's a guy who's not going to throw 8 turnovers a season, 8 interceptions a season. He's going to take some chances. He's going to turn it over here and there, but he's going to make a lot of plays for you. That's what he did for Seattle the last few years. And so far with the Raiders, it just hasn't materialized like that. I think that, listen, we do know Brock Bowers has been banged up a little bit. He's their number one weapon. But there's talent there on the roster. I mean, you have Bowers and Michael Mayer as the tight ends. You have Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, a young receiver coming up. You have Genty, obviously you spent the number 6 overall pick on. You got to be feeling pretty good about that personnel coming into the season. You should have been upgraded. But I think that it just hasn't clicked a lot with Geno. And I think that, last week was just, I know the Colts are good and they're improved and they're playing well, but that was a really brutal showing. I mean, between his interception and the first drive was not short drive, was the block punt, but they had 2 drives where they only had to go 15 yards or less. And you can't have that happen in the NFL and win games. So I think Geno's got to play better. And
that.
I think, no, you can't. I mean, if your defense holds them to a field goal there, that's an incredible job on their part. Like you can't do that in the NFL. Is just, it's impossible to win.
So I go back. I mean, how much of this sits squarely on Chip Kelly? I mean, you know this because you live in the Big Apple and you know how life is in the Northeast. When he gets to the NFL, his offense goes crazy. But then they realize it. He gets cut off. He goes to San Francisco. I think it was San Fran. Wasn't it San Fran?
Matt, he went from Philly to San Fran for a year.
Okay. It doesn't work there. And
Hmm.
Is the problem the Chip Kelly offense?
No, because I mean, listen, it's funny. The offense, I mean, we're talking now about um 10, 12 years ago, him with Philly. The offense was pretty good for them. It didn't revolutionize things the way that they thought it would, but you know, they won 10 games 2 seasons in a row. They made the playoffs. It was a disaster in San Francisco, but that whole season was a disaster there. Um, but I mean, when I look at what he was able to do at Ohio State, and again, Ohio State, he does have a massive talent pool there compared to the guys they're playing. So, you know, there's nothing you can say about that. But I don't think the Chip Kelly offense is a problem. But I do think the interesting thing that you saw this week is Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. People asked him about, you know, Pete complaining about not enough run plays, play action. That's what Pete Carroll wants. And listen, the OC is the play caller. He's allowed to run his offense, and he's going to call the plays. But the head coach sets the tone. And Pete Carroll's always been a run the ball and play action game guy. That's what he did with Russell Wilson. That's why they were so successful in Seattle. That's how he kind of helped Geno Smith a few years ago in Seattle. So I do think that's interesting to see how that will mesh moving forward.
Well, let me ask you this. How big is a problem when you're paying your offensive coordinator $6 million large? You know, kids today would say he's getting bank or bag, but you're paying him $6 million, rumored to be a multi-year deal. I mean, at some what I mean, 2 weeks ago, Pete Carroll has to basically complain that Jack Bech, the rookie wide receiver, isn't getting used enough. They do, and oh, by the way, he looks really good. Now he's complaining about play calling. I mean, it's very clear that they need to get on the page, but it's also very clear you have better personnel, allegedly, and a $6 million a year offensive coordinator, and his offense is the biggest. Listen, there are other problems. Special teams is a disaster. Defense is not as bad as anyone thinks, but like you mentioned, you give a team the ball where they're giving them the ball. I mean, it's just ridiculous. To me, the offense is the glaring problem, and it shouldn't be when you look at where they spend their money.
Oh, I agree. And I think that if you look at where they attempted to upgrade this season, it was very clear they wanted to upgrade the offense. They upgraded at quarterback. They felt they upgraded at offensive coordinator. Obviously spent to get an offensive coordinator there. They grabbed the running back early. They don't have the number one receiver they had when they had Devontae Adams, but that's fine. They still have some players there, and they took two young guys in the draft to groom them. So to me, the investment was on the offensive side of the ball, and I think to come out and look so sluggish at times, or to have the turnover problems and all the other issues they've had, is very disheartening and discouraging without question.
You have a $6 million a year offensive coordinator, and you score 6 points, with a multi-million-dollar quarterback you went and traded for, the number 6 overall pick running back, the best talent since Saquon Barkley, and you get in the red zone and you want to run gun? Make it make sense to me. I mean, I'm
Well,
talking to NFL people who are just like, I got nothing.
I am looking right now because I saw this before and I want to make sure I get the numbers right. So I'm looking, okay, this ESPN piece from today, 85.1 percent of the dropbacks so far have been from shotgun compared with 11.2% under center. And listen, knowing Pete Carroll, he wants that to be changed. He wants that ratio to be, to get close together. Listen, most NFL teams are in shotgun more often. It's the preferred formation, shotgun or pistol. You're not going to be under center, 80% of the time the way teams were 30 years ago. But I do think that you might start to see them get under center a little bit more and really try to emphasize more of a run game and do some different things there that Pete Carroll's more comfortable with, especially when your passing game isn't exactly lighting the world on fire and your quarterback has 9 interceptions through 5 weeks. So I wonder if they'll see some adjustments starting with Sunday against Tennessee.
Better. because I'm going to go. That takes me to my next question. I cannot even fathom a world that they lose in, but I won't be shocked. Okay. I won't be shocked. I saw them lose to Carolina last year. I saw them, I mean, when they lost to Andy Dalton, they made him look like John Elway. I saw when they lost to Jeff Saturday. Jeff Saturday,
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
on his
Yeah.
first game, you lost to Jeff Saturday. And then on a Sunday. And then if they lose, I say throw the towel in and go to a complete rebuild. Just go to a rebuild, stop the insanity, rip off the Band-Aid, let it bleed, however you want to say it. It's a complete rebuild. Because if you're 1-5 and you suck so bad that you just lost to Tennessee, who's in the beginning stages of a rebuild,
Yes.
Mark Davis needs to be calling everybody in from Tom Brady on down, and he needs to be chewing some butt on what in the world am I spending on? Where am I wrong?
And listen, when you look at it, they're playing at home this weekend too. I'll be honest with you. I know we didn't do any game picks yet. I'm picking the Raiders to win, but to me, honestly, I'm picking them more to win because of Tennessee than I am of the Raiders. Because I'm looking at it like the Raiders are coming home. They haven't played well, but Tennessee's one of the worst teams in the league. They just got an improbable win last Sunday. And I do really like Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's very talented, and if they build around him,
I
they
do
could be
too.
pretty good. But they are one of the worst teams in the league. The Raiders should win this game on paper. And usually it just feels like when a team has a terrible loss like that last week, a crazy win, excuse me, as a bad team, where, a fumble gets recovered in the end zone after they get intercepted and the Cardinals, the guy dropped the ball going in for a touchdown. Usually the kind of other shoe drops. And I don't know if the Titans are good enough to win this year back-to-back games. So I'm picking the Raiders to win, but it's really more so about the ineptitude of the Titans and about how I feel about the Raiders playing a great game on Sunday.
Bingo, bingo, wango, tango. You are right, my friend. Ding, 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 ding. That is exactly where my that's why I'm saying, if you lose this game, stop the insanity. You are not reloading. You are in a full rebuild, whether you want to be or not. And if I'm Mark Davis, I am sending out an email Sunday if they lose. And here's the email to Tom Brady, John Spytek, Pete Carroll, from the managing general partner and majority owner, Mark Davis. Subject, meeting. Subject, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., be in my office. Bring Advil. I mean, I'm just going to, and I'm Mark, I'm going to be like, listen, Chip, you guys told me to give Chip 6 large. I did. Pete, you're the Hall of Fame guy. Tom, you have a lot of say in this franchise. John, you're Tom's guy. Fix it. And if I'm Mark, nobody's leaving that office until I get answers. And I mean, I don't want to be told. I want you to know I am holding every one of you accountable to what you tell me. Because I'm going to tell you this, Mark Davis deserves better than this. So do the fans. But my heart goes out to Mark because he's trusted a lot of people and he's had to spend a ton of money, tens of millions of dollars. And I'm telling you, Matt, I know you don't know him. This guy, all he cares about, doesn't care about the money. And I know you probably say, oh, yeah, I don't believe. I'm telling you, Matt, I'm telling you. All he wants is a championship. He so desperately wants to win that championship for his dad's franchise. He can taste it. The guy, I believe this, if you came to him tomorrow and said, okay, you can win a Super Bowl, but it's going to take 10 years off your life, he would sign the deal. Okay, my heart goes out to him because he is bringing people in on a regular basis that he should be able to trust, and he's getting a lot of bad info. Your thoughts on Mark Davis?
Well, listen, I don't know him personally, but I can see what you said about the last time because if you think about it, this is a guy who, um, he took over for his father, and Al Davis, the back half of his career didn't go well. So Al Davis, as much as he was an innovator, a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest executives ever, it did not end well. So it didn't end well on terms with Raider fans. But Raiders are, it's in Mark Davis's blood. He wants to win a championship. He wants to get this franchise back to what it was. And listen, he had, like you said, he has put in the time and the money. It's not like he's not invested. It's not like he's just sitting there collecting paychecks and doing whatever. He's put in the time and he's put in the effort and money to be a good to be a good franchise. Now are the investments going to pay off? But getting back to this week where you said if they don't get a win, if you look at the next 4 games after that, they're at Kansas City, who's going to be desperate. Even if Kansas City beats the Lions this weekend and gets to 3-3, they're going to be desperate. Then you come home and you got to play the Jags, who look pretty good. They're 4-1. They're improved. That's a meaningful game for Jacksonville. Then you go on the road to Denver, which is not an easy place to win against a team that's probably going to be fighting for a playoff spot. And then you come home and play the Cowboys, who they do not have a good defense. And, you think you can put some numbers offensively, but they got one of the best offenses in the league, and Dak is playing out of his mind. So you could easily lose any of those or all of those 4 games. And if you don't win this week, it can get out of hand. It can unravel fast. And I think that's why a victory this week is just paramount to get some stabilization.
Nuts. Man, I can't believe we've been talking all this long. We've been talking all Raiders. Let me just ask you real quick. The Browns go with Dillon.
There's a lot to talk about.
Shedeur. I love the way Shedur's handling it. Hey, I'm just thankful to be here. He's playing the aw shucks. I mean, this is just fun. Cleveland is just it's just a dumpster fire, and it just is fun to watch, isn't it?
It is. To me, one of the things that I will say is that I think when you watch, I think Shedeur handled this week very well in terms of when Joe Flacco gets traded, are you the backup? Are you not the backup? Blah, 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 all those different things. But one of the things that I noticed is that when you look at the comments of Kevin Stefanski, he does not seem happy to have to answer these questions about Shedeur Sanders. And it really lends credence to the idea that they did not, he didn't want Shedeur Sanders. That it was Andrew Berry's pick, that was his move, to get another quarterback in the mix to get Shedeur Sanders in there, because Kevin Stefanski just looks like he doesn't want to deal with any of that. And here's what's going to happen. They're 1-4. They keep losing. Kevin Stefanski knows his time's probably up. There's going to be more questions about, is Shedeur going to play? Shedeur going to play? Shedeur going to play? Hey, we went from 1-4, now we're 3-9 or something like that. Is Shedeur going to play? And it's going to be a repetitive story, and you can tell he don't want to deal with that.
So I had an NFL person, an executive, tell me this week this is what he thinks is going on. Kenny Pickett looked the best by all reports. I talked to our beat writer there at the time who told me in training camp it's Kenny who's clearly the best. He gets injured. They know he's going to come back, but they ship him to the Raiders. Now they trade Joe Flacco. He said to me, he goes, I totally read this as management telling the coaches, like that movie Moneyball, when what's the name of the guy?
Brad Pitt played him. Yeah,
Billy Bean.
Brad Pitt
played him.
Billy Bean.
When he just kept trading guys to make the manager have to play him, and he's just like, he thinks he's getting Billy Beaned. What do you think?
Interesting theory. That was, Billy Bean traded Carlos Pena, so I think Art Howe couldn't play him, and he had to play Scott Hatteberg at first. That was a major plot line in there. To me, I think that one of the, I don't know if it's fully that. I do think there was an opportunity arose for them to trade Flacco now because they did bench him, and they don't necessarily need him to be there as the backup, and the Bengals are really desperate for a quarterback. So I do think it might have been an opportunity presented itself. But listen, the Browns know that he draws interest, and they know that if he plays, he suddenly makes a bad team really interesting. Because if he starts, the first start he gets, it's going to be all eyes on him and a major thing, whether the Browns are 1-12 or 9-4 or whatever they could be. It's going to be, a big deal. So I don't know if it's a full Billy Bean type thing behind the scenes, but I feel like it's an ancillary kind of benefit for Andrew Berry where, they could get Shador involved and it could be a boon in the short term for the franchise.
Good as the Pittsburgh Steelers because I think they're pretty good. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team, but I think they could win a playoff game.
They are pretty good, and I think that the weird thing is they are really in control right now in that division. They're 3-1. The Bengals are floundering with no Burrow. The Browns are the Browns. They're 1-4. They placed Pittsburgh this week, and Baltimore's 1-4, and they looked awful last week with no Lamar. Like Baltimore really seems like they're having a year from hell. Like it happens every so often to really good teams or organizations. I think San Francisco kind of had it last year, where they had so many injuries and they lost a bunch of games, and they went from being in the Super Bowl to winning, I think, seven games. Philly had it in 2020 where they had won a Super Bowl a few years earlier, and then they went to the playoffs back to back, and then they went 4-11-1. Good organizations sometimes have years from hell. And I think that's kind of what Baltimore's having. So the Steelers are in the driver's seat right now. And I think if they kind of keep up doing what they're doing and their defense keeps steadily improving and Rodgers keeps managing the game well and doing what he can, they could be in position to host a playoff game, which would give them a chance to win, a good chance to win have their first playoff win in, it sounds crazy, but almost a decade.
Right now, this. I reported it before anyone else nationally that Bill Belichick was on his way out. And I reported that his last year. I am hearing from people in the Baltimore organization that John Harbaugh is probably on his way out. I told you about it last week. I'm just telling you, have you thought about it? How much would that make you celebrate a new year with John Harbaugh taking over your G-men?
Oh, I would love that. I mean, I think John Harbaugh still has, he still has some of his fastball. I don't think he's lost it. It might just be time for a change in Baltimore. Great coaches sometimes run their course. And I think that, I've advocated for this with the Raiders and the Giants and the Jets and any team, the Browns, although they do have Stefanski now, but, if they fire him and they hire somebody else, any team that's been bad for a while and is looking to kind of get some baseline competency, I always recommend you have to bring in somebody who's done it before and has that cachet and knows their program and knows what it takes. And I think that's why I would love to see John Harbaugh in New York.
I agree. All right, everybody. He's the great Matt Holatic from Men's Journal. Check him out. Thank you, Matt.
Anytime. My pleasure.